Everyone in the village laughed at Kofi, the poor boy with big dreams.
Look at him, a poor farmer who thinks he will become rich. Ha! Rich! As if. One day my life will change.
You change your life? Look at your torn clothes. You will always be poor.
Years later, luxury cars suddenly entered the dusty village road. The villagers gathered in shock.
Wait, that man stepping out of the car, is that Kofi? Yes, it is I, Kofi. Kofi has returned.
Everyone in the village laughed at the poor boy. Even the woman he loved refused to help him. She said he would die poor. But many years later, that same boy returned to the village with cars, worth more than the whole town. And what he did next shocked everyone. In a small village surrounded by tall palm trees, there lived a young man named Kofi. The village had mud huts, red earth roads. Goats walked freely. Chickens ran around the market. Women cooked food outside with firewood. Children played in the dust. And every evening, the elders sat under a big tree and told stories. Kofi lived in a very small hut at the edge of the village. He was very poor. His clothes were old. His shoes had holes. Sometimes he walked with bare feet. Many days he had little food. But Kofi had something special. He had a big dream. He believed one day his life would change. Every morning, Kofi woke up before the sun. He worked in farms. He carried heavy bags at the market. He cut firewood in the forest. He worked harder than many men in the village. But no matter how hard he worked, he remained poor. Sometimes he slept hungry. Sometimes he sat alone outside his hut and looked at the stars. Yet he never stopped dreaming. But the villagers did not understand him. They laughed. That boy dreams too much, they said. He thinks he will become rich. Some people pointed at his torn clothes and laughed loudly. Kofi heard their laughter, but he stayed quiet. Among all the people in the village, there was one person Kofi loved very much. Her name was Amina. Amina was beautiful. Her family was rich. She wore bright dresses and gold earrings. Many young men in the village wanted to marry her, but Kofi loved her with all his heart. One day, Kofi gathered courage. He walked to Amina's house. His heart beat fast. He wanted to ask for help. Amina was sitting outside with her friends. They were laughing and talking. Kofi walked slowly toward them. His clothes were dusty. His sandals were broken. Amina looked at him. Her friends began to whisper. Kofi spoke softly. Amina, please listen to me. She folded her arms. What do you want? She asked. Kofi took a deep breath. I have a dream, he said. I want to start a small business. I only need a little help. Amina looked at his clothes. Then she laughed. Her friends laughed too. The laughter was loud, very loud. Kofi felt his heart break. Amina pointed at him. You? She said. You want to succeed? She shook her head. You will always be poor. The people nearby heard her words. More villagers began to laugh. Someone shouted, Look at the dreamer. Another person said, This boy will never change his life. Kofi stood there silently. His face burned with shame. His eyes became wet, but he did not cry. He turned slowly, then he walked away. That night, the village was quiet. The moon was bright in the sky. Kofi packed a small bag. Inside it, he placed 2 shirts and a pair of old sandals. He looked at his small hut. He looked at the village one last time. Then he whispered softly, "One day I will return." And before the sun rose, Kofi left the village. The road to the city was long, very long. The city was not kind. At first, Kofi had no place to sleep. Sometimes he slept outside shops. Sometimes he slept in crowded rooms. He worked many jobs. He carried heavy loads. He washed dishes. He cleaned floors. Many days were hard. Some people cheated him. Some people shouted at him. Sometimes he failed. Sometimes he cried quietly at night. But he never gave up. He kept learning. He watched how business worked. He asked questions. Slowly, things began to change. Kofi saved small money. He started selling small items in the market. The business grew. Then he opened a shop, then another shop. Years passed. Kofi worked day and night. His ideas were smart. His businesses grew bigger. Soon he owned trucks. Then he owned big companies. Kofi became very rich. Not just rich, a billionaire. But he never forgot the village. And he never forgot the day people laughed at him. One morning, many years later, something strange happened in the village. A long line of expensive black cars drove slowly down the dusty road. The villagers had never seen cars like that before. Children ran after them. The cars stopped in the center of the village. The doors stayed closed. The villagers waited. Silence filled the air. Then, slowly, one car door opened. A tall man stepped out. He wore a fine suit. A gold watch shined on his wrist. His shoes were bright. The villagers stared. They whispered to each other, "Who is this man?" Then an old woman stepped closer. She looked carefully at his face. Suddenly, she screamed, "It is Kofi!" The crowd gasped. Everyone stared again. Yes, it was Kofi. The poor boy they once mocked, but now he looked powerful, strong, successful. The villagers could not believe their eyes. News spread quickly through the village. Amina heard the news. Her heart jumped. She ran toward the crowd. When she arrived, she saw him. Kofi stood beside the shiny cars. Amina covered her mouth in shock. "Kofi, is it really you?" she asked. Kofi looked at her quietly. For a moment, nobody spoke. The whole village watched. Then Kofi smiled gently. "Yes," he said. "It is me." Amina felt ashamed. She remembered the day she laughed at him. She remembered the cruel words she said. "I am sorry," she whispered. Kofi looked around the village. He saw the huts. He saw the dusty roads. He saw the same people who once mocked him. Then he spoke calmly. "When I was poor, nobody believed in me. The villagers lowered their heads. But I never stopped believing in myself," Kofi continued. Silence filled the village. Then Kofi said something that surprised everyone. "I did not come back for revenge. I came back to help." The villagers looked up in shock. Kofi continued, "I will build a new school here." Gasps filled the air. "And I will build a clinic so sick people can get help." Some people began to cry. "And I will create jobs so young people will not suffer like I did." The elders stepped forward slowly. They looked at Kofi with respect. One elder spoke. "My son," he said, "you have a good heart. Then the elder turned to the villagers and said, "Listen carefully. Never laugh at the poor." Villagers nodded in silence. They had learned a powerful lesson that day. But now let me ask you something. If you were Kofi, would you forgive the people who laughed at you, or would you walk away forever?